You got it. All right. This is the July 28th hearing, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to start by reading the public notice. Notice is hereby given that due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic and recent executive orders issued by the governor, the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals, the zoning board hearing scheduled for Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 at 6 p.m. will be held electronically via Zoom webinar. Instead of an in-person public hearing, it will be streamed live over the internet. Anyone interested in providing comments to the zoning board on agenda items is encouraged to do so prior to the meeting. And signed, John M. Lorenzo, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals. Our first application tonight, number 432-20, Ryan and Melissa Wood. Permission to erect roof over porch resulting in floor area ratio of 29.9%. Instead of the permitted 25%, Residence B District, south side of Sampson Street, number 26, 605.25 feet east of Johnson Avenue, Sayville, New York. Ms. Pissarro will get to the adjournments right after this.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Hold on, let me move those two
All right.
back to attendee and go get the applicant for Wood. There you are. Don Bracco coming in.
All right. All right, is anyone here for the applicant? Is anyone here for the applicant?
He's here. John, you need to unmute yourself.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Got you.
Thank you, yes.
Hi, good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. John R. Bracco, architect for the applicant, 111 Railroad Avenue, New York, Sayville, New York, 11782.
Thank you, Mr. Bracco. Is there anything in particular you wish to point out to us, or shall we just proceed?
You can proceed.
Thank you. All right. Does the board have any questions for the applicant at this time? Planning, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
Thank you. Anyone from the audience wish to be heard? There being no one. Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I will make a motion to grant the application.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Application granted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you
Ms.
very
Pissarro,
much.
you're very
Yes.
welcome. Ms. Pissarro, you have two, we have two adjournments that
done.
we need to announce,
Aye.
right?
We do. We have, we actually have 3 adjournment requests.
Right.
One is the next case, number 433-20. That applicant or representative is not present.
Okay, just so everyone's clear, the applicant is Richard C. and Dawn M. Antonick. And that's the property located at number 8 Linda Lane in Central Islip. So if you're here for that, that will be adjourned to a new date and you'll get a new notice. Anyone else?
And then the next one we want to address is somebody later in the calendar who was asked to be called earlier. So
I
will
thought-
move him back in again. Here he comes.
And which one is this, Ms. Pissarro?
That is E and J. I think it's number 17 on the calendar, E and J Land Development LLC. There's also a neighbor who wanted to be heard, so I'm going to move the neighbor in as well.
Okay. So I'm going to call it so that everyone knows what application we're talking about. And then we'll let the applicant make whatever application he wishes. Number 716-19, E and J Land Development LLC. Permission to erect a 2-story addition, adding 8 residential units to existing mixed-use building, leaving a second front yard of 21.75 feet to the building and 17.75 feet to the deck instead of required 25 feet each, resulting in floor area ratio of 30.66% instead of permitted 25, although we'll have to address that. GST District, northeast corner of Carlton Avenue, number 155 in Washington Street, East Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
For the
applicant Joseph F. Bazell, Blanda, and Visconti. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Excuse me, Mr.
Good
Chairman.
evening, Mr. Bazell.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Let me just make a point, if I may, before Mr. Bazell starts. Just so the record's clear, we've advanced this application on the calendar, but the time is 6 o'clock, and that's our start time. So nobody can claim that they were not here because we advanced it.
As usual, Mr. Chairman Emeritus, you are correct. All the applications are calendared for 6 PM. So Mr. Bazell, go ahead, whatever application you wish to make.
This afternoon, the planning department picked up another variance based on a code amendment that happened in December. That variance is not part of the call, so we would request an adjournment, preferably to August 24th, to allow the legal notice to be amended.
Okay, so Mr. Bazell, what you're pointing out then is that the advertisement, although correctly based on the denial by the building division, is actually incomplete because of the new legislation enacted by the town board during the interim period between when you got your denial and when we're having this hearing, correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to grant that application.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Okay, there's a neighbor here that I don't know if you wanted to be heard or if you need any explanation of what we just did. Now's your time to speak, if you wish to.
Can you hear us?
Yes, go
Okay.
ahead.
My name is Philip Frisbee, and that's Justice Veltman, my girlfriend. We just recently bought the property at 4 Jefferson Street, East Islip.
Right.
So we I know it's going to be another date now, but we kind of just had some questions and concerns for the project itself.
Okay, so then what I would urge you to do is to get in touch with Mr. Bazell. He is an esteemed attorney. I'm sure he would be eager to speak with you, address your concerns, and hopefully address them in a way that will satisfy you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If you need contact information, you can call our zoning board office tomorrow, okay? Or
Okay.
rather
you.
than give telephone numbers in a very public forum like this, all right?
No problem.
All
Thank
right, thank you so very much, Mr. Bazell. Your application is granted. We'll see you on the 24th.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
All right.
I think it's
you
the
too.
25th, everyone. Oh, the
25th,
Yep.
excuse me. My mistake. Thank you. All right. Is there another application or another adjournment request, Ms. Bissaro?
There is, but it follows that of somebody who will be presenting momentarily. So she will seek her own adjournment when she finishes her first case.
Okay, well, why don't we call it now? Because that way, if there's anyone here waiting for that, we don't waste their time.
Okay, so then
Which one is this now?
it's the top of page 2, 437-20.
Okay, number 437-20, Edwin O. Bonilla and Anna V. Alvarado. Permission to leave shed 12 by 19, leaving a side yard of 2.7 feet instead of the required 4 feet to establish a accessory apartment pursuant to Islip Town Code, section 68-602, Residence A District, southeast corner of Marshall Avenue and Suffolk Avenue, Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Oh, hold on now. Now I've got to move her in. Here she comes. Hi, Roxanne.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, you have an application, I understand.
Yes.
All right, please feel free.
Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York, agent for the applicant. We're seeking an adjournment today on application 437-20.
Okay, do you have a specific date you'd like to request, or would you like us to leave it to the discretion of the secretary to the board?
The August 25th date would work unless the calendar is full and she'd like to give me a different date, that'd be fine too.
That's fine.
Mr.
August 20, that's fine.
All right, I'll entertain it. All right, is anyone from the public here on this? There being no one, I'll entertain a motion. Anyone? Don't be bashful. Don't be shy.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Application granted. Thank you.
Thank
Which other application do you have, Ms. Trellis?
I
since you're
have
here?
436-20.
All right, we'll call that next then. 436-20 Feliciano A. and Julia Solsa to renew permit for two-family, family use only residence B district east side of Pine Grove Boulevard, number 1723, 260 feet north of Benton Place, Bay Shore, New York. Please state your name and address again for the record.
Roxanne Trella, Dynamic Expediting with offices at 1040 Terry Road, Ronkonkoma, New York. Agent for the applicant.
Thank you very much. Floor is yours.
Renew the permit for two-family, family use. And it's the same. We did provide a license and it's based on age.
Okay, Ms. Pissarro, everything in order?
Everything's in order.
All right, Mr. Nicolia, would you like to make a oh, I'm sorry, planning, do you wish to be heard?
No.
Anyone from the audience wish to be heard? Mr. Nicolia, do you wish to make a motion?
Motion to grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Trella. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Application number 434-20, Virginia and Robert Fisher. Permission to leave pool patio having side and rear yard of 0.7 feet instead of the required 6 feet each, Residence AA District, north side of Debbie Lee Lane, number 102, approximately 75 feet east of Arctic Avenue, Bohemia, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Unfortunately, I don't see the applicant's name in the attendee panel.
All
And
right. If there's anyone here for the applicant, please raise your virtual hand by
Yes.
clicking on the appropriate box so we can see you. And if not, we'll second call this. Ms.
that would
Pissarro,
be good.
these.
And a second call would, second call would give me the opportunity to identify some of the people here also. So
Okay, second call it is.
the next
Next
person
application.
is definitely
yeah,
here.
All right. Number 435-20, Helene Larson. Permission to leave water feature having a side yard of 6.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, Residence A District, south side of Hollister Lane, number 16, 270 feet west of St. Mark Lane, Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Can you hear us, Ms. Larson? She's here. Moved her in.
I can't wait for live hearings to resume.
I know. Let's see, maybe she's writing to me. Oh, she's writing to me. She's having trouble. We are trying.
I saw that.
Okay. Okay. So Tom from IT, Ms. Larson, is telling us that it looks like maybe you don't have a microphone. So what you can do is call us on one of the phone numbers from your house phone. And then there's 3 phone numbers listed on the town website, right where the Zoom link was listed. So when I see a phone number come in, I can convert it to you and move you in as a panelist.
Ms. Pissarro, which do you prefer, that we second call this or just take the next application and come back to it? Or would you like to continue to hold for
I'm
this?
just going to ask her real quick. And can you call? And then we'll do a second call. Oh, they're trying, can no longer hear the meeting.
All right, we're
Yeah.
gonna put this then. We'll recall this when they're
Yeah,
back.
I'm going to keep communicating with her here.
Okay, the next application we heard, the next application on the top of page 2 has been heard or adjourned. Next application, number 438-20, Justin and Denise Feremi. Permission to leave patio having a side yard of 1 foot instead of the required 14 feet, Residence B District, north side of Joseph Street, number 73, 445.14 feet west of Lincoln Avenue, Sayville. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I'm looking, I think I saw that name before. Sorry.
All right, do we not have anyone on this application either?
Well, nobody is talking to me in the chat or the Q and A, and I don't.
Fine,
see-
second call.
I don't see a
Next.
Justin or a Denise.
All right, next application, number 439-20, Suffolk Real Estate Solutions, Inc. Permission to alter and repair the roof line, leaving a side yard of 9 feet instead of the required 14 feet, and the total side yards of 24.6 feet instead of required 28 feet. Residence B District, east side of Charter Oaks Avenue, number 147, 225 feet south of Jericho Street in Brentwood. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
He is here.
Finally.
Hello,
There he is.
you hear
All
me?
right, sir, state your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Mendocino for Suffolk Real Estate Solutions, 20
Okay.
Beechwood Drive, Manorville, New York, 11949.
All right, sir, are you a principal or a member of the company, or do you have a
Yes, sir.
title with the company,
Sole-
or,
Sole Principal President.
thank you so much, sir. All right, anything you would like to say about your application?
I'd be glad to hear anything, be glad to give you anything you want to know, and I agree with you. I like to do this in person.
Okay.
I'm not technology savvy, but it's working.
All right, there we go. Planning, do you wish to be heard on this application?
I just had a question. The roof line, I was a little confused by it. Did it always have the 9-foot side yard?
So I thought that might be confusing for you. Nothing changed. If you go to the CO and lines on the survey are the same. So you'll see there was a stop work order when I bought the property as a foreclosure. The people living in the house had a 3-foot tree that crashed through the garage. So upon me buying it, I pulled the tree out and restructured the rear wall for the garage, and I evened off the roof line. So there is no actual extension on the property. It just takes the roof line and goes from the beginning of the garage to the house now, so it's even. But there is no extension on there beyond what was there already. It's just an evening of the roof line, if that makes any sense.
All right, having heard that, Ms. Ryan, any
There's
other
also
questions?
pictures there.
Okay, Ms. Ryan, any other questions?
No, that was it. No objections. I just wanted to make sure
Thank
that
you.
there was no extension.
Sure. And does the board have any questions? Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Nicole, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, application granted. Thank you, sir.
Folks,
All
thank you
right,
for your
do
time.
we have anyone back, Ms. Pissarro?
We do. We have application number 3. The Fishers have arrived.
What number is that? 435, 430,
434.
434, okay. This is a recall, application number 434-20, Virginia and Robert Fisher. I'll read the call again for the convenience of the board members and the public. Permission to leave pool patio having side and rear yard of 0.7 feet instead of required 6 feet each, Residence AA District, north side of Debbie Lee Lane, number 102, approximately 75 feet east of Arctic Avenue in Bohemia. Whoever's here for the applicant, name and address for the record, please. East of Arctic Avenue in Bohemia. Whoever's here for the applicant, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, how are you? Virginia
Oh,
Fisher, 102 Debbie Lee Lane, Bohemia.
Okay, if there are two of you in the same room, we're getting feedback. So one of you needs to turn off your computer, or if you're watching live on YouTube, you need to, I believe, turn that off as well. On YouTube.
Let me see. Okay, there you go. Sorry.
All right, that's better. That's okay. I just want to hear every word you have to say. It's all important. So, go ahead. Anything you'd like to say about your application? Oh, wait, the reporter, did you get her information?
I did, thank you.
Okay, very good. Ma'am, anything you'd like to say for your
No, there
application?
isn't.
Okay, planning, do you wish to be heard on this application?
This is 434, sorry. I just wanted to check.
Correct. Yeah.
So all I want to say about this one is, although it's just in this small corner, so it seems very minimal effect. And based on the aerial, it backs up against Town of Islip owned property. So there's not a neighbor there that might be affected by it. That's pretty much it. No objections.
Does the board have any questions? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? All right, there being none, Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Application granted. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Ms.
so
Fisher.
much. Have a great day.
You're very welcome. You
you.
too.
Bye.
Next application, number 440-20, Robert LaMonica, permission to leave deck 2.8 feet high, having a second front yard of 40.21 feet instead of the required 50 feet, and to leave the accessory structure 6.4 feet by 8.8 feet, having a second front yard of 37.21 feet instead of the required 55 feet. Residence AAA District, 278 Cluster, south side of Blue Point Road, number 216, corner of Bayview Drive, Oakdale, New York. Is anyone here for the applicant?
Oh, sorry, I was busy. The other person had arrived also after that person, but let me get LaMonica.
Okay, we'll work through it.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, name and address for the record, please.
Amy DeVito, Woodhull Expediting with offices at 1031 Main Street, Port Jefferson, New York.
Thank you, Ms. DeVito. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. The only thing I'd like to add to this application is just that although these structures do encroach in the front yard, they are fairly far away from the street and not creating any.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to
Thank you.
repeat that. We had some interference
Yes,
there.
I
I
heard.
apologize.
It's okay.
Okay.
I said the only thing I wanted to add was that although these structures are located in the second front yard, they are substantially far away from the street and any moving traffic, not creating any obstruction to moving traffic. The house was built as part of the cluster and was actually one of the smaller lots. So it doesn't leave, for much room due to its unique lot shape to put really anything in the backyard without encroaching. And I did speak to Deirdre earlier, and I know that she did find a comp that's just across the intersection to the north of this property with very similar relief, actually more intense relief than this. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? There being none, planning, do you wish to be heard?
Just like Ms. DeVito said, there's a precedent for a second front yard of 21.5 and a stoop having a second front yard of 20 feet. So this doesn't seem like it's a great impact on the neighborhood. It seems like it'd be fine. And again, the lot shape is very strange. Even on the aerial, it's just a strange area where it is. So no objections.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? And there being none, Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. So carried. Congratulations, application granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm here for the next case too.
Oh, look at that.
Would you mind if we go back and get the simple one that we skipped over in the beginning?
Sure. And Mary, Ray Snyder from Fusion Architecture is here with me. So
Thank you. Good to know. Okay.
All right, we'll
So-
get right back to you then.
We'll get right
Mr.
back to you,
Sarah,
okay?
which application would you like to recall?
That is the application of Helene Larson. It's
Okay, number
435.
435-20, sure. All right, I'll recall it. Number 435-20, Helene Larson, permission to leave a water features, having a side yard of 6.2 feet instead of the required 14 feet, Residence A District, south side of Hollister Lane, number 16, 270 feet west of St. Mark Lane, Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I promoted her to panelist.
All right.
I'm
Ms.
asking her
Lar-
to start the video.
Ms. Larson, the floor is yours. Ms. Larson,
Let's see.
Ms. Larson's on the phone, Ms. Pissarro. Can you patch her in?
Oh, I wonder if she's here.
I'm on mute.
Oh, I think we have her.
All right, Ms. Larson.
Good evening, everybody. Hello, how are you? Helene
Success,
Larson.
finally. You state your
Yes,
name and
finally.
address for the record, please.
Good evening. I am Helene Larson. My address is 16 Hollister Lane, Islip, New York.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anything that you'd like to say about your application?
Not really, just we'd like to leave our water feature.
All right. So for the record, the board has before it not only the survey, but a little written explanation, I assume from you, Ms. Larson, and a couple of photographs attached to in our packet. I'm sure everyone has already previewed that. Are there any questions? Planning, do you wish to be heard on this?
No objections. It bumps out a little bit at a small area, and it seems like the height is minimal as well.
Okay, does the board have any questions? There being none, does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Application granted. Thank you, Ms. Larson. And thank you for your diligence in trying so hard.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Okay, so now we're back to application number 441-20 on page 2 for the board's convenience of the agenda. Town of Islip Community Development Agency, United Way of Long Island, permission to erect a one-story dwelling with a porch on a lot having a width of 50 feet instead of the required 75 feet, lot area of 6,231 square feet instead of the required 7,500 square feet, leaving side yards of 12 feet and 11.85 each instead of required 14 feet each. Total side yards of 23.85 feet instead of the required 28 feet to erect portico, leaving a side yard of 9.5 feet instead of required 14 feet. Residence B District, east side of Peters Boulevard, approximately 200 feet south of Booth Street, Central Islip, New York. Ms. DeVito, please name and address again for the record, and then the floor is yours, ma'am.
Sure. Amy DeVito, Woodhull Expediting, 1031 Main Street, Port Jefferson, New York. Ray Snyder from Fusion Architecture is here to make the presentation. He has some notes that he wanted to share with you. I'm not sure if he's on.
He's on.
Mr. Snyder, do you want to be heard? All right.
Okay. Not sure where Mr. Snyder
Oh,
is.
there he is. Mr.
Oh,
Snyder, oh, and he disappeared.
I think we can hear you.
There
Ray.
he is. Okay, Mr. Snyder, do you wish to be heard? Okay, we can't hear you. And we still can't hear you, sir.
I do have Ray's notes.
Okay.
Yeah, so let me just get to that, and then maybe I
Okay.
could just bring up some points he wanted to make.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Just give me one moment.
Take your time.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read exactly what Ray wrote for the record.
Okay.
Fusion Architecture PLLC is representing our client, the Town of Islip Community Development Agency, who is respectfully seeking variances to erect a new one-story, single-family home on the subject vacant property located on the east side of Peters Boulevard, 200 feet south of Boot Street in Central Islip. The property was purchased for development from the Town of Islip and is in the Residence B district. We are requesting relief as depicted on the notice. The project consists of a new one-story, single-family home designed for a vacant lot located on the east side of Peters Boulevard. The new house will be 1,360 square feet, on slab, grade, single-family residence with 180 square feet covered front porch, which will consist of 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths, dining room, living room, and mechanical room. Additional improvements to the site will consist of a new sanitary system approved by the Suffolk County Health Department, which is pending DPA approval, a new asphalt driveway that can accommodate off-street parking for 2 cars, and new on-site stormwater damage and containment. We believe the requests of these reductions to be minor and consistent with previous zoning board of appeals approvals in character with the existing residences that surround the neighborhood. And just also a side note, both 24 and 22 Peters Lane, which are the surrounding properties, are extremely similar to what we're proposing in size and setbacks. And I
They're
believe,
both 50 footers, are they not?
yeah, and there's a lot of conformity in the neighborhood. And I spoke with Deirdre earlier about this one, and she also found a precedent.
All right, we'll get to Ms. Ryan in a second. Does the board have any questions? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
Yes, just like Ms. DeVito said, I did find a precedent for actually seeking a lot area of smaller than the one that this is, but otherwise it's exactly identical. Side yards of 12. This one has 11.85, but that's a very small difference, I believe. The only difference is that the precedent doesn't have a portico, but that's a smaller kind of addition onto the house. But otherwise, it's very similar. And there's a lot of 2-story dwellings in this area as well that ask for a side yard of 10 feet. And this is a 1-story dwelling, so I think it won't be as, it won't impact the site as much. And I did actually look into the map that they supplied, showing the radius and the 80 homes or parcels mentioned. Sorry.
And you're breaking up on us, Ms. Ryan.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay. Okay. Out of the 87 parcels within the 500 radius, 19 are actually 50-foot lots. So that's about 22%, I think, when I did the math. And even ones that are below 75, there's about 30% of the lots in the area are below 75. So I believe this would be more so in the nature and character of the neighborhood.
Okay, and planning supports the application. Ms. Ryan?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, any questions from the board, from Ms. Ryan? There being none, any questions? Anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Nicole, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to grant the application.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Thank you very much. Application granted. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Next application number 442-20, Elizabeth A. Feeney and Kathleen A. Gleason. Permission to erect addition and alterations to dwelling resulting in a new structure, leaving a side yard of 10.1 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Residence A District, east side of Davidson Lane West, number 7, 140 feet north of the terminus of Davidson Lane West, West Islip, New York. Is anyone here for the applicant?
The applicant has been promoted to panelist. There they are. Oh, good.
All
You have
right.
your architect with you.
Yes, yes.
Great.
Good
I couldn't find you in the attendee panel, Michael. So thank
Well,
you.
That's right.
That's the finest looking group we've had so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please put all of your names and addresses in for the record, please.
Sure. Michael Palumba, architect, 80 Elizabeth Drive, Bethpage, New York, 11714.
Could you just spell your last name for me, please, sir?
Palumba, Palomba.
Thank you.
Next.
And Elizabeth Feeney, 7 Davison Lane West in West Islip, 11795.
Thank you. Next.
And Kathleen Gleason, same address, West Islip, 7
Thank you
Davis
so
Lane.
very much. Mr. Palumbo, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. I'm appearing on behalf of Elizabeth Feeney and Kathleen Gleason of 7 Davison Lane West, West Islip, New York. We're requesting a variance to construct an addition and interior alterations to the existing dwelling, which is located in the Residence A zoning district. And the proposed additions and alterations result in a new structure by definition and leave an existing side yard of 10 feet where 14 feet is required. As you can see, the proposed garage addition complies with the required minimum side yard setback of 14 feet. We are asking for relief of the existing non-conforming portion of the dwelling that exists. The proposed addition will comply with the required setbacks. I know the board is familiar with this area. There are several properties along Davison Lane West that have been expanded and improved. Elizabeth Feeney and Kathleen Gleason recently purchased this property, and they're simply seeking to make improvements to the existing dwelling and property. Prior to this evening's hearing, Elizabeth Feeney and Kathleen Gleason discussed their application with the surrounding property owners, and there were no objections to their applications. The proposed alterations will be consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and that completes our application.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there any questions from the board at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question regarding precedent. What do we have that's same or similar with
There you go.
10.1?
As usual, Mr. Chairman Emeritus, good anticipatory instinct. Ms. Ryan, could you educate us, please?
I was able to find a few precedent. There's at least 3 that have the same side yard of 10 feet, another with a side yard of 10.1, and another with a side of 10.2. So this
Thank you.
does seem in character.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Wexler?
It does, Mr.
Okay.
Acting Chairman.
Fake chairman, remember?
Fake Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions? Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to be heard on this application? And there being none, Mr. Wexler, I would defer to you for the purposes of making a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Application granted. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thanks
time.
very much.
You're very welcome. Next application, number 443-20, Richard and Lorene Seguelia. Permission to leave a shed 8.3 feet by 8.3 feet, having a rear yard of 4.4 feet and a side yard of 8.1 feet instead of the required 10 feet each. To leave a roof deck, creating floor area ratio of 32.45%. Roof line of roof deck having a side yard of 9 feet instead of the required 10 feet. To leave AC and propane platform over 48 inches in height, having a side yard of 10 feet and rear yard of 14.5 feet instead of the required 15 feet each. To leave front pavers having a side yard of 0.6 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residence BAA District, west side of Gale Avenue, number 35, 77 feet north of Neptune Court, Seaview. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Sure.
Ms. Fay, there you are.
Hi, how are you? Good evening,
Good.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Christine Fay here. It says, which application are you being heard on? I don't
You're
know.
being,
That wasn't to you.
that's not you.
That was,
Okay. Anyway, good evening, Mr. Chairman. This is Christine Fay from Accurate Expediting Offices right here, 286A Belmont Avenue, West Babylon, New York. Mr. Squealia, my client is seeking permission to leave his shed, roof deck, AC and propane platform, and front pavers. They are in the process of selling the home, and they hired me to rectify these issues. All the structures are existing and are in nature and character of the Fire Island homes. We would like the board to consider approving this application.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Wexler, please.
Thank you. What concerns me is the shed. What do we have as precedent? Since it's 4.4 instead of 10, that's
It's significant. Ms. Ryan, can you help Mr. Wexler and I?
I wasn't able to find a shed with a rear yard of 4.4, but there were a few sheds rated at 6 feet and 6.9.
All right.
Do we
Anyone
have an
else, or
aerial,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman?
Do we have an area we could put up, Ms. Ryan?
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
This house here.
Can we zoom in a little bit, please?
No problem.
And can you identify which house it is again? I don't recall.
This house. So the shed, I believe, would be back in this corner.
Okay.
Since we have precedent of 6 feet, why don't we give them 6 feet? Because if we go down to 4.4, before you know it, we're on the property line.
Mr. Wexler, however you wish to frame it in the form of a motion is fine by me. And I'll give you the opportunity to do that if
Thank
no
you.
one in the public wishes to be heard. All right.
Oh, what's that noise?
I don't know. There being no one else, Mr. Wexler, I'll defer to you for purposes of making a motion.
Thank you. I will make a motion that we deny so much of the application seeking to leave a shed having a rear yard of 4.4 feet and side yard of 8.1 feet and grant the applicant 6 feet and grant the remainder of the application.
Thank you very much for that well-crafted motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Application granted as modified. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
I am here for the next case also.
Well, aren't you lucky? All right, number 444-20, Rosemary Viola, David and Suzanne M. Viola, permission to leave driveway having a side yard of 1.5 feet, patio having a side yard of 1.9 feet, shed 6 feet by 7.8 feet having a side yard of 0.3 feet, and the deck having a rear yard of 2.9 feet instead of the required 4 feet each. Residence A District, east side of Willards Lane, number 275, 438.48 feet south of Montauk Highway, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
That's me,
Okay, there we go. Name and address for the record, please.
Christine Fay, Accurate Expediting, 286A Belmont Avenue, West Babylon, New York. The Violas are seeking permission, as you stated. Their house is in contract for sale. We started this process of legalization before the house actually went on the market, and now they're in contract. The driveway was installed in 2009. They didn't know there was a setback requirement. The shed was installed in 2012. It's a small shed, 6 by 7.8. That was in 2012. The deck in the rear is back to the canal. It was built in 2010, again, not knowing that there was a setback requirement. We'd like the board to consider approving this application.
Okay, there seems to be a lot about the town code your clients don't know, huh?
We don't.
Any questions from the board? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
No objections.
All right, thank you. Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard? There being none, Mr. Wexler, since you're on a roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Application granted. Thank you, Ms. Fay.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye,
All
Christine.
right.
Bye, Mary.
Number 445-20, Michael and Megan Reguseo, permission to leave roofed over entrance having a front yard of 33 feet instead of permitted encroachment setback of 34 feet. Shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling and a side yard of 1.3 feet instead of the required 2 feet. Hot tub having side yard of 13.1 feet instead of the required 14 feet and building separation of 2 feet instead of the required 6 feet. And a driveway having a side yard of 0.7 feet instead of the required 4 feet. Residence A District, west side of R-Line Lane, number 52, 360 feet south of Rosemary Place, East Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Hi, Megan Mergusio, property owner, 52 R-Line Lane in East Islip.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about your application?
No.
All right. How old is the shed and how did it get there?
Okay, let me get my husband on here. Go ahead.
Hi, how you doing? Mike Regusio, 52 R-Line Lane.
Okay.
The shed's been there probably 14 years maybe since we did the pool. The guys that did the pool kind of rotated it with the pool. So it was straight. If you could see, it's like on an angle. So,
Yeah, no, I see. Yeah.
yeah.
I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Who is this? Who's speaking?
Deirdre.
Okay, I'm sorry. It didn't pop up on my screen.
Is it the shed in the back corner that's in question or the small shed up here? Because when it's the front line of the dwelling.
No, this one, the one in the corner I thought was fine because I had sent measurements in of that with pictures. And when the inspector was out, he said that was fine. I believe it's the one that's over here on the side of the house.
Okay, the portable vinyl shed, it's labeled.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay.
That's a different one.
Okay, very good. I think that helps us. That would be on actually the north side of the property.
Yeah.
So then this one back here is okay?
It's not before
okay.
us.
Oh.
Whether or not it's okay, it's not before us. So
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Don't ask questions that can get you in trouble, man.
Oh, sorry.
I'm only teasing. I'm just
Okay.
teasing. All right. Anyone from the board have any questions? Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
I just want to know what is the height of that small shed?
The height, it's like a standard shed, like you could stand up in it, you know?
It's from Costco.
It's like one of those Costco sheds you would buy, Lifetime, or one of those plastic sheds.
It seemed very small, and I think if it's below 6 feet, it only needs 10 feet or 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling. And it's already, I think, at 23 square feet. It's a very small shed. I was just wondering what triggered that it needs to be 20 feet moved back. That's all I was wondering.
No, the shed is bigger than that. It's, I think the shed is 10 by 10.
What we have on the survey is 7.7 by 3 feet.
No, the shed's bigger than that. It's 10 by 10.
The portable vinyl shed is 10 by 10?
It's one of those like Costco sheds, or 8 by 10, yeah.
That's the open frame roof over I have is 10 by 10.
Yeah.
Hang on.
What's on the side of your house? Is there a shed on the side of your house?
Yeah, there is a shed, but it's a standard like stand-up shed, so it's probably like 7 feet. It's got like a little angled roof on it, like a little.
My question is how big it is, because what we have in front of us shows a shed that's 7.7 feet by 3 feet. Now, if that's not in fact the case, and that's on a survey which is dated November. Let me see. January 4th, 2016. If that's not the same shed.
You're talking about the shed on the right side, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, then that's 3 foot or whatever it is, 2 foot by, okay. Sorry.
Okay. So that's fine. And what Ms. Ryan is saying is because of its size, how high is that shed, sir?
Yeah, it's about 6 foot tall. It's got like the little doors and it's got like a little fancy little top on it. It's almost like a shed, to be honest, like for bicycles and.
Okay, Ms. Ryan, then is it your
Much in there.
position that a shed with those dimensions need only be 4 feet behind the front of the residence?
If it's under 6 feet in height, it only needs to be, I believe, 4 feet behind the front line of the dwelling.
Okay.
That was just my question. I guess if it's triggered, though, it might be with the peak of the roof, though. Might be.
I could see that it being like, because that little peak of the roof, it has that angle, so maybe it's 7 feet, if that, you know what I mean? It's, yeah.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. My query is, we've been holding pretty firmly on these setbacks, and I
Yes,
just
we
don't want to
have.
create precedent that we're going to have to live with.
Okay.
And when we thought 7 by 7 by 3, it was of small moment, but I think we're going to have to seek compliance. Otherwise, we're going to have this, and this is West Islip. We're going to have this
This
come
is
up.
East Islip.
East Islip. We're going to have this come up quite often. And I
Yeah,
don't
and
know
I
how-
think that the height is what the problem here is with this shed, as I understand it. Is that your understanding as well, Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Okay. Planning, anything else to say?
No, that's it. The only objection is for the shed.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? There being none, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion that we deny so much the application, requesting to leave the shed not having 20 feet behind the front line of the dwelling and grant the remainder of the application.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? None. Thank you very much. Your application's been granted with the exception of the shed. You're gonna have to just move that to a compliant location, okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Have a great.
All right. Next application, number 446-20, Maureen and Joseph Frazita. Permission to use dwelling for family use only as per Islip Town Code Section 68-419.1. Residence A District, east side of Sequams Lane East, number 105, 748.6 feet north of Eaton Lane, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Ms. Pissarro? Unmute yourself, please. Although we did see you nod, we can't hear.
Yes, hello?
All right. Name and address, sir, for the record.
105 Sequams East Lane, West Islip.
Okay, and that's the applicant. Mr. Ang, are you here on this as well?
Yeah, that is Frank Frazetta. That's the son of the owners, Maureen Frazetta. So that's
right.
That's Frank. That
Right.
just
All right, Mr. Ang, could you put your appearance on the record for us?
Yep,
please?
Christopher Ang, 93 Main Street, West Sayville, New York. We are asking for permission to do a two-family use, family use only on this dwelling.
Very good. Ms. Pissarro, is all of our paperwork in order on this? Ms. Pissarro?
You're muted, Mary.
Okay, yes, everything's in order. Frank, I think your parents are 79 and 81 years old, correct?
That is correct. Actually, my dad just turned 82 yesterday.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thanks.
And we
Wish
did
him a
have a
happy
neighbor,
birthday on behalf of the Town of Islip Zoning Board of Appeals.
We greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
we do have a neighbor who is watching.
Very good.
Ms.
We'll
Dilly,
get-
if you would like to be heard, you just
We
have to
will-
unmute yourself, but if
We'll
not-
hear from the neighbor in a second.
Okay,
Planning, anything you wish to contribute? Ms. Ryan?
No, sorry. I don't know
That's okay.
sometimes. No.
All right. Any questions from the board? There being none, I understand we have a neighbor, so please, your name and address for the record, please. Ms. Del Pizzi, is that correct? You have to unmute yourself. Oh, you had it and it's back. Sorry. Unmute yourself again, please. There you go. Speak into the microphone, please. Your name and address for the record. I'm sorry, we still can't hear you, ma'am.
so Ms. Del Pizzi called the office today. Can you hear us? Can you give us a nod? Yes. She called the office today. She lives across the street and down a few houses. I'm not sure, Chris, why her name was listed as the neighbor to the west, but she is 134 Sequams Lane East, which,
Okay.
as I said, is on the opposite side of Sequams Lane East and south a couple of houses.
Very
said
good.
she
And what
didn't
is, I'm sorry,
didn't-
go ahead, Ms. Pissarro. What is her
But
concern?
she didn't necessarily have any real concerns. She just, the neighbors were new, so she didn't know who they were and who lived there. So maybe Frank, if you could.
Yeah,
turn
if
your
you could take a walk over there, Frank, and introduce yourself and
Be
your
more than happy
folks.
to. Great. I'll bring a
But
cherry pie
maintain
for her.
6 feet of distance, please.
Yes, of course, of course.
Please do so within
Absolutely.
all executive orders. Thank you.
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
sir.
Mrs. Della Pizzi, did you hear what went on? If you could nod your head, yes or no? Okay. Are you all right with Mr. Frazetta coming over to see you and get to know you perhaps? Is that okay? Yes?
Nod yes or no, please, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you have, is there anything else that you want us to hear? Is there anything else you want to say? Okay, so then what we have to do is we're going to give you a phone number to call in. Do you have your telephone? All right. Ms. Pissarro, can you give her the number to call in, please? So that we can hear her.
Yep, it's on. Ms. Della Pizzi, it's in the same place that the link was for the Google, for the Zoom
Zoom.
sign up. So you would go to the same location where you hit that link and
There you go.
you would try one of the phone numbers instead.
Or there's one that just flashed on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, thank you, whoever that was.
Yep. That was Tom, I believe.
Thank you, Tom. Oh, maybe we have sound now. Oh, she's calling me.
I've done this with other towns, and they're not as organized as town of Islip.
Yeah, well, saying that tonight, we don't feel very organized tonight. It usually goes much smoother than this. So, and we owe all of that to Tom and, of course, the secretary to the board, Ms. Pissarro. They make this work for us, and also for our recording secretary, Ms. McGrath. So, thank you all. All right. Are we getting anything, Ms. Pissarro?
Anybody that's co-hosting with me sees the phone number come in. There we go. I will promote
Perfect. Thank you.
talking permitted.
Good evening.
Well, thank you. Success. Now you have to turn off your computer
Okay,
or mute your computer. Good.
good.
No, we're still getting an echo. Okay, there it is. No, we're still getting it. Go in another room. We don't need to see you. We'll just hear you.
Okay. How's that?
That's wonderful. Thank you. So how can we help you tonight, ma'am?
Yeah, good evening. And we are actually directly across the street at 98 Sequence Lane East
That's good to know.
on
Thank you.
34. Yes. And
All
our
right.
concern was there's just been a lot of movement at the house, and we were unsure exactly who were going to be the occupants in the house.
And it's all family. Again, as you heard before, the owners are of advanced age and they're living with a family member. So it's not like it's a rental to a stranger or a third party. Okay. Does that help?
Okay, and are there other members living in the home?
Well, they can have whoever they wish, as long as, related to the owner, as long as they're in the appropriate portion of the home.
Okay, and as long as they're directly related to the owners?
Well, not everybody has to be directly related, right? So if I have a significant other and I were to move in, if were my parents alive, were I to move into their house with my significant other, that under the code still qualifies. Okay, but there has to be one family member. That's correct.
Okay, great.
All right. All right. Thank you so very much. Thanks for your patience and thanks for your perseverance.
All right, thank you so much. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Any other questions from the board? There being none, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application for a period of 3 years.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Opposed? None. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You
sir.
guys.
Thank you.
All right, number 447-20, Kiernan and Nicole Tracy, permission to install in-ground pool, leaving a front yard of 28 feet instead of the required 29 feet, and a side yard of 7 feet instead of the required 14 feet, to leave a hot tub having a rear yard of 7 feet instead of the required 14 feet, Residence B District, northeast corner of McNeil Street, number 215, and Seville Boulevard, Sayville, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
He's here.
Right. And that's Mr. Booth, it says. Mr. Booth, you have to unmute your microphone.
How's that?
There we go. Perfect. All right, Mr. Booth, do you wish to be heard on this application? First name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours, sir.
Peter Booth, 5 Kirk Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York.
All right, thank you. And anything you wish to say in support of the application?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, Mr. Kieran is going for the 7-foot side yard. But in checking with the town, the next door neighbor had been granted an 8-foot setback. So in discussing that with the homeowner, he is willing to move the pool closer to the home, giving me a 7-foot separation from the house, therefore giving me the 8-foot.
Okay, but this 7-foot is just one corner. It seems like some way up, it then expands to 8 and then further to 10 and then further to 11. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right.
So at the closest point to the side yard there.
Understood. Okay. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Booth? There being none, Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
I just want to confirm there is a precedent with a side yard of 8 foot. It is directly right next door and in the same kind of conditions where it's only at a small point. Like this one where it does branch out and get wider towards the back. So no objections.
Why can't he? Oh, I'm sorry. Why can't he shift the pool 1 foot to the west?
Well, he said he's willing to, Mr. Nicole.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
If
Okay.
that's
Oh, I'm
important
sorry.
to
I
the board.
misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah. If it's important to the board, and if it isn't, then it isn't. Any other questions from the board? All right. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? There being no one, Mr. Sullivan, I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'll make a motion to grant the application.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you, Mr. Booth. Have a good evening. Application granted.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good
Next
night.
application, number 448-20, 166 River Road Corp. Permission to establish a non-conforming use of a single-family dwelling in an industrial 1 district and to leave addition to dwelling, resulting in less than 25% expansion of non-conforming use, industrial 1 district, northeast corner of Connecticut Avenue, number 67, and Lockwood Road, Bayshore, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
There is. Can you hear us, Mr. Cortazar?
We also have a Kathy Sacamano.
We do.
All right.
Yes. Good evening. We're neighbors at 14 Lockwood Road, and we
All
just
right.
didn't understand the application.
Okay, we'll get to you in a second.
We'll get to you, ma'am.
Just give us a second. We're all kind of working through this together. All right. We had the applicant. There's Mr. Cortazar.
Yes.
Sir. All right, sir. Do you, name and address for the record, please, and then the floor is yours.
Yes, Vincent Cortazar, 6 Carmen Road, Dixfield, New York.
Okay. Are you an officer of 166 River?
Sole owner of 166 River Road.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Anything you'd like to tell us about your application, sir?
I've just requested permission to reestablish non-conforming use of a single-family residence.
Okay, you say reestablished. Is that, are you saying that it once was approved previously?
Yes, it was, and it lost because after a year, it loses its conformity.
Okay, it got discontinued, right?
Right.
Okay. Ms. Ryan, your input will be especially valuable to the board tonight. So can you educate us a little bit?
So in this area, it's a little, there's a lot of houses that are establishing nonconformity because they are industrial 1. There's a lot of 2-family dwellings that were actually established legal nonconforming use in the area as well. I wasn't able to find the single family, but there were single family uses that were expanded by the same amount. So it does kind of seem, although it might be a bit odd of an area, and I could show you the aerial. There are houses, and this house kind of has been there.
Okay, so did this previously enjoy a non-conforming use for a single-family home?
I believe it did, but I forgot to print out.
Ms. Pissarro, do you have the certificate of occupancy?
I do.
And does it mention anything about the previous non-conforming use?
It does, very clearly.
Okay.
Of course, at the time, it wasn't a non-conforming use when it was first CO'd.
Okay, but it was CO'd, and then, okay.
It received a certificate of compliance stating that the structure was built in approximately 1918. It
Okay.
received that certificate of compliance on January 13th of 1981.
Always
then-
one step ahead of me, Ms. Pissarro, thank you.
It then
Keep
got a
going.
series of rental permits. And for some reason, there's a questionable statement on the CO that said it had lost its non-conforming use in an industrial 1 district, and it refers to a memo that we don't have.
Okay, and there was never another hearing before the board with respect to the loss of the non-conforming use, was
No,
there?
it seems that that statement was done without a hearing
All right,
affirming same.
very good. All right, Ms. Ryan, is there anything else you wish to add?
No, nothing to add.
All right, any questions from the board at this time? There being none, Ms. Sacamano and Mr. Sacamano, I guess, the floor is
Yes.
yours.
I'm just curious what they're asking to do. 'Cause
Just to keep a single family home there, as apparently was the case for many years.
we just wanted to find out what they were trying to do.
Of course, yeah, no worries. Thank you, and thank you for participating. We really do value your participation and the input of neighbors. So thank you very much for taking the time and making the
explaining it.
effort. Thank you very much. All right,
Good
so,
luck, Mr. Vincent.
Thank you so much.
all right.
There is one more neighbor who has
Oh, I'm
just
so sorry.
He has just turned his video on at my urging. And if you'd like to unmute yourself, William, we can hear what you might have to say.
Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
William Batista,
Okay, your address?
3 Lockwood Road, Bayshore, New York.
Thank you. How can we help you this evening, sir? What would you like to tell us?
I'm sorry.
No, it's just the same thing. It's been there since day one. The house been there since day one. You know what I mean? It's just that somebody gladly, you know what I mean, took over and it just and lifted it up the area.
Excellent. Natasha, did you need some information?
No, I see the name, the last name popped up. It's okay, I've got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
I just typed in William's last name as Batista, and I do note that the file contains an affidavit from Mr. Batista filed in support of the application to establish non-conformity.
Again, one step ahead of me. Thank you, Ms. Pissarro. Okay.
You're welcome.
Any questions from the board at this time then? All right, and there being none. Mr. Nicolia.
A motion to grant the application.
Second.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you very much, everyone. Application granted. Have a great evening. And thank you all for your time.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
All right. Next application number 450-20, Camilo Canessa de Leon, permission to leave second story entrance platform, staircase, and landing, having a side yard of 7.3 feet instead of the required 14 feet. Residence A District, south side of Fig Street, number 98, 475 feet west of Ferndale Boulevard, Central Islip. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
I just promoted the architect into the panel, but I have to ask you, Dominic. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Dominic, is there anybody with you on this application?
Is Camilo here?
I don't see Camilo unless he's coming in as a different name.
Camilo, if you're here, please put your name in the Q&A or the chat so they can add you in. If he's not here, it's all right. I'm ready.
I'm gonna move in another name just in case.
All right, Mr. Aresta, your name and address for the record, please.
Dominic Aresta, JM2 Architecture PC, 2410 North Ocean Avenue, Suite 300, Farmingville, New York, 11738.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
So my name is Dominic. I represent my client, Camilo Canesa, the property owner. I'll start with a little bit of background about 98 Fig Street. That whole bottom portion was an addition done without permits previously. Now, my boss, John Mahler, approximately 10 years ago, filed for legalization of this rear yard addition. Variance was granted previously by the board in 2008 for a floor area ratio overage. And the house was carved up into 3 separate apartments. There were plans filed to revert the house back to a single family dwelling. A permit was granted by the building department, and the house was never reverted back to single family. So where we're at
So it
today,
still remains a 3-family as of this date?
no, sir. Today it is a single family dwelling. No one lives there, as Camilo would like to rectify the situation and close out all permits first. So
Well, when you say rectify the situation, is his intention to use it as a single family residence at this point?
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I think that's important for the board to know.
So
Okay, and this is an entrance platform, so it's not a deck. It's really just where the stairs lead to before you enter on the second floor door, right?
yes, sir.
All right.
I did provide the board with photographs. I'm not sure if you have those, but it's an exterior 2-story wood staircase.
Okay,
So-
they're in the file. This is if anyone wishes to see them. Any questions from the board at this time? No questions from the board. Ms. Ryan, do you wish to be heard?
I just wanted to state there is no precedent, but if the board deems to grant it, I would just request it never be enclosed.
All righty, Mr. Aresta, you heard the request from the planning department. Are you amenable to that?
Yes, sir. That is acceptable.
All right. Anyone from the audience wish to be heard?
Well, we did have a phone call yesterday morning at about 9 a.m. and it was an adjacent oh, I'm sorry. It was 1 week ago today. And it was an adjacent property owner. I guess you would say the most impacted property owner on the other side of the staircase. And that person did say that they would be attending this hearing.
And yet they're not here.
Yeah, but I just got a chat question.
Let the record reflect. Excuse me.
Well, as we know, Zooming can be a little tricky for some people.
For all of us. Let the record reflect it's 7:14 and there is no evidence of anyone being here to be heard. That having been said, Mr. Nicole, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, so carried. Application granted. Thank you, Mr. Aresta.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Have a great night.
You too. Again, for anyone who missed it before, number 716-19 has been adjourned till August 25th. Number 451-20. Washing Towels LLC, permission to erect 2-story dwelling, leaving a rear yard of 24.1 feet instead of the required 25 feet and floor area ratio of 33.78% instead of permitted 30%. To install retaining wall 5 feet in height on property line not having the required setback of 5 feet, and to leave an above ground pool having a front yard of 30.8 feet instead of the required 60 feet, excuse me. Residence BAA District, northeast corner of Surfview Walk, number 40, and Neptune Walk, Seaview. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Mr. Graham, good evening.
Good evening. How is everybody tonight?
Good, good. Your name and address for the record, please. And then I'm going to defer to Mr. Wexler, if you would, sir, if you could conduct the remainder of this hearing.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham, go ahead, sir.
Glenn Graham with Graham Associates, 1981 Union Boulevard, Bayshore, New York, representing Alex and Leslie Parker, the owner of Washing Towels LLC. Is it possible I could share my screen with the board? I can start with the slide that's up. That identifies in yellow the variances we are seeking, and then I was going to pull up some aerial views of just some pools of the surrounding area.
Boy, Mr. Graham, you're testing our technological capabilities right off the bat, huh?
Since we were the last two, Mary suggested it would be a good time to give it a try.
Absolutely.
I think I have to promote you, Glenn, to co-host.
Okay.
Tom, you might have to help us out with this. Maybe Tom as the host, information technology. Tom, perhaps you have to promote.
Any panelist can share a screen.
Any panelist can share a screen.
You don't
Okay,
have to make
shoot,
them a
Glenn.
co-host.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You guys seeing my screen at this point?
I
Tom,
see
I'm just-
Deirdre. Oh, now I see Mary.
Is anyone seeing my screen at this point?
Not
No.
yet. And Tom, I thought we had this problem early on. Deirdre tried to share and she wasn't a co-host yet, so we couldn't see what she had.
No, I have it set that any panelists can share their screen. So
Okay.
you should just be able to click on share screen and be able to share it.
Here we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So essentially, you're looking at the site plan. I'll zoom in a little bit. The first variance we're seeking is minor in nature. It's the rear yard setback of 24.2 instead of 25. And you'll notice it's just a small portion of the rear of the house. It's an L-shaped dwelling. It is going to be a new dwelling, but it's consistent in footprint with the house that is there today. So that's the 24-foot setback instead of 25 we're seeking. The next variance would be a retaining wall for a septic system. That retaining wall is along the front property line on Surfview Walk. It is 5 feet high. However, after speaking with two concerned neighbors, we've looked at doing an advanced septic system, low nitrogen, that will now not need the retaining wall. It will be in the same general area. You'll notice this is what they call the low nitrogen tank, and this is where the liquids would go. Instead of this large retaining wall, we're going to have two separate fingers that would extend along Surf Walk, and they'll only be about 2 feet out of the ground. By the time we landscape the front and do a deer fence, you won't see that septic system at all.
So are you making the application, Mr. Graham, to amend your application to read a retaining wall of 2 feet instead of 5?
We're not going to be adding any retaining wall. It's just going to be fill, but I just want the board to acknowledge that the septic system will be in that same area.
Well, wait. We can't acknowledge anything. I'm asking you about the application. Your application seeks a setback of 5 feet and leave above ground pool. Is there, to install a retaining wall of 5 feet in height on the property line. Are you looking to withdraw that?
We're looking to withdraw that, but the wall is part of the septic system that we still need to put in.
Okay, but if you withdraw it, you won't be able to have a wall.
You
can't withdraw it and still have it.
Yeah. We're not seeking the wall anymore to appease the neighbors. So,
well,
all right.
then,
So, Mr. Chairman Emeritus, I'd make a motion that we amend the call of the meeting to remove the request to install the retaining wall 5 feet in height on the property line and not having the required setback of 5 feet.
do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Motion to amend, granted. All right, continue on, please.
obviously, the next variance is a low FAR variance of 33.78. I think the board can agree. We've seen upwards 40% and higher in Seaview. So it's a relatively low FAR request. And finally, we're back to a swimming pool that has existed for a number of years. And I'm going to jump over to my next slide. This is the way the swimming pool exists today. It's a 50-foot long swimming pool. It has a 25.1 setback. We are willing to cut back the pool to 40 feet and increase the front yard setback to 30.8 feet. The next slide I'm going to show you is kind of a map of Seaview with all the swimming pools that are range 15-foot front yard, 15-foot front yard, 30, 30. This is our home. Subject parcel, there's a 20-foot setback, another 30. So we're in nature and character of the neighborhood by cutting this back.
Okay, hang
However-
on, let me just, I'm sorry, you ran some numbers by me and I couldn't get them down. You wish
Yeah.
to amend the application to read what? Give
We're
me
not
the
amending
word.
the application, we're still seeking a setback of 30.8.
Okay,
What I was illustrating in the prior slide is that the pool is 50 feet long currently and 25 feet from the front yard. We're going to shrink the pool. We're going to knock off 10 feet of the pool and increase the setback to 30.8. You may be familiar, in 2018, it's one of the newer applications. This rule, as the board knows, was from 2016, requiring a new 60-foot setback. There's only been a couple applications granted. The Nelson application 683-18 was granted similar relief at 30.8. So we didn't pull it out of thin air.
Mr. Graham, so I'm clear, is the pool that's there now legally there pursuant to a permit and on the certificate of occupancy?
It is not. We're trying to
Okay.
legalize.
I see. All right, I just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
so how many, Mr. Graham, how many precedents do we have? You say there was the Nelson,
Yeah, we have Nelson at 30.8, and we also.
which is identical to what you're seeking.
Yes, and it's a similar application in the sense that both the Nelson application and this one had the ability to put the pool in a conforming location. We actually could put the pool in a conforming location across the east side of the property, but it'd be more detrimental to that east neighbor. Our south neighbor had some concerns. She's across the street and also still maintains the benefit of a 25-foot side yard setback on Neptune. I'll pull back
Is-
up the survey so you can see that
Before you
again.
do that, Mr. Graham, is the Nelson application, or the Nelson case an in-ground or above ground?
We're only allowed above ground pools on Fire Island.
Okay,
Yep.
I
So
should have known that. Okay,
the pool could be put in a conforming location across this back portion, but it would more directly impact this east neighbor, where the south neighbor has the benefit of not only of our 25-foot side yard setback, Neptune Street as well. And
So
also,
what-
like, yeah,
what other precedent do you have other than Nelson?
we don't have any other precedent other than this, Vardy Weeks was granted a 51 instead of 60.
No,
This
that's
is
not
a very relatively new law.
And again, I'm not familiar with Nelson. That was a ZBA grant and we granted 38 instead of 60.
30.8, the same
30.
I'm seeking here.
And again, is maybe Deirdre, unless I'm sure you must know the case, you brought it up, it's the same. It wasn't on a utility easement. It wasn't facing a ball field. I mean, it's just straight out similar application.
I don't actually know the case. Was it within 500 feet?
This is more bayfront. I don't know the exact distance, but it's one of the only two cases that were heard with this new 60-foot rule.
We need
that-
to find out if it's within 500 feet because we hew pretty closely to, as you know, we hew pretty closely to that because otherwise we just keep expanding and then the 500-foot rule has no bearing anymore. So we're going to have to look into that unless anybody knows the answer.
Let me pull up the aerial view. Let's take a closer look. I believe the Nelson Pool, this is the subject site.
Mhm. Well, that's not 500 feet.
Yeah. What I'm getting at, Mr. Wexler, if you look across the board here, there's pools at 15 feet, 30, 30. If you take the average, we're well within nature character of the neighborhood. There's
Yeah, but those
25-foot
were
pools,
built-
28-foot pools.
I know, but those were built before the new town code. So we have to balance that. Yes, the town puts in a code relatively recently. And if we just reduce it by 50%, we've just basically overruled the town board. And I think we're supposed to do that with great caution. So we're going to have,
let's
go ahead.
You did it on the Nelson application as the very first one I submitted. And what
But it
I'm
wasn't
telling
within
the board,
500 feet.
but there was no precedent for the Nelson application at all.
Well, that's why I want to
And you
look into
granted
it.
it.
I don't
And
know.
the
I
reason
get that.
being was that if we were to put the pool in a more conforming spot, it would be more detrimental to the neighbor. The
Okay.
neighbor here on the east side, I could have the pool 25 feet from her yard, the whole 60-foot long pool. We're trying to keep it on a corner that is well screened and enjoys the benefit of Neptune Avenue before it even gets to the next door neighbor. Both those and we have two neighbors, the one directly impacted, I believe, will speak in favor of the application. She's been living with this pool for the past 20 years. The biggest complaint was that it was a rental house and the noise coming from the pool filter. We're going to move the pool filter far away from her property. We're going to maintain the ton of landscaping here. If I zoom in, you can see how thick the landscaping is. And I think if I was to put the pool in a conforming spot, the neighbor to the east would be objecting much more strongly than the neighbor that's going to speak in favor of the application tonight.
So, Mr.
This is
Graham,
the
what you're saying is that you've taken these extraordinary steps to mitigate potential adverse impacts, and that should outweigh the concern about precedent. That's what your position is, right?
Yeah, we're sympathetic to the neighbors
Okay.
and we've
Got
asked for their support.
Okay,
And I
that's
think
something the
we've
board
gained
will
their
have to,
support.
yeah, that's something the board will have to weigh. That's all.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to present to us, sir?
Just if you took a close look at this map, there's pools 30 feet all over the place.
Yep. No, we can see, you've done your homework. We see all the thumbtacks.
And I
So-
just want to remind the board, when I presented the Nelson case, we had strong opposition from a neighbor that didn't want the pool where we were putting it, but if we put it where it was legal, it would have been closer to our house.
Yes, you made that point.
And I'm
Okay.
going to have the same case here. We're
Okay.
willing to take a 50-foot pool. We are going to cut it down 20% and make it smaller. We're willing to move.
Okay, but that
anything
you're
that
willing,
makes
stop,
noise.
wait. It's not that you're willing. You have an illegal structure there. You have an illegal item there. And in your attempt to legalize it, you're going to do certain things to mitigate adverse impact. You're not
correct.
willing to, you're going to do whatever the board directs you to do, or you're going to challenge the board's decision, but you're not doing us any favors. So please don't say you're willing, because frankly, we're willing to enforce the code strictly.
Why aren't we hearing you, Chris?
Understood.
All right, thank you.
Anything else you would like to present to the board, sir?
Not at this time.
You're not willing? A little joke, little levity. I like wherever you are. I like the. Are you over at the beach now?
Looks
Nope,
great.
Unfortunately not. In
It
my
looks
kitchen.
great.
Okay, it looks nice. Yeah. Okay.
Nice kitchen.
Thank you.
Okay. As you have nothing else to add, does any questions from the members of the board? Any questions from members of the public?
Yes, I would like to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Just give us your name and address, please.
Sure. I'm Martha Mason, and I'm
Okay.
at 42 Surfview Walk in Seaview.
Okay.
I'm the above referenced neighbor, and I
Yes.
was very against this variance to begin with, but I've met with both the architect and the owners, and I highly support their application in that they're going to make the pool smaller. Part of our biggest problem with this pool has been its size. And in that they're going to move the pool filter, the equipment, so that it's not on the corner, on the property line, which is where it has been. I think this is a good chance to legalize this pool, this illegal pool that we've lived with for all of these years.
Okay, anything else? Thank you. Okay, if I may make an application to
I think we have a
reserve.
couple of other folks here, Mr.
We do.
Oh, are there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who else would like to be heard?
I am Reginald Elton.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
I'm Reginald Elton, 985 Surfview Walk.
Okay, Reginald Elton, what would you like to tell us?
We were initially concerned about the retaining wall. The property owners and the architect have addressed that issue, and I have no objection whatsoever and support the project.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to be heard?
We have some Alex Archer. Are you here on this application? If you are, please unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, I'm here with my wife Leslie. We're the owners.
Okay.
You're the who?
We're the new owners of the property.
Oh, hello, new owners of the property. All right, what would you like to tell us?
We're just excited to be new owners here in Seaview, and we appreciate your time in reviewing this application. Unfortunately, I think we've been tarred a bit by the prior owner and some of the shenanigans he may have pulled. But I think, as you just heard from Mr. Elton and Ms. Mason, that we've reached out and we're really looking forward to living here and being good neighbors. And I hope you approve this.
Okay, thank you. Just so we can assuage any fears, we don't tar and feather anybody. Your application stands on its own. It's strictly the dimensional requirements. It doesn't, we don't know and we don't care. Honestly, we don't know who owned the property before, and it doesn't matter to us.
But Mr. Chairman, I would like to though commend the applicants because they have taken some extraordinary, whether it's enough or not is, you know, going to be for the board to determine, but boy, they sure made a really good, they made some good steps and took some great steps toward mitigating adverse impacts. And my hat is off to you and your architect for those efforts.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Messina, our vice chairman. Anybody else would like to be heard in this application? There being nothing heard, then I will make a motion. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'll make a motion. I was trying to save you, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a
Excuse me,
motion to reserve.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Before you reserve, could I ask that, you know, we've been working on this project for 1.5 years. Took several months to get the first hearing, several months to get this hearing. If you reserve on this, this family's gonna miss the entire building season. We're only allowed to build September through May here. If you are going to reserve, I ask you to reserve on the pool only. So I have the ability to give this family a new home this fall.
Unfortunately, Mr. Graham, we never, that I can know of 10 years on the board, grant and deny in part. It just becomes too complex to enforce. So I understand the applicant's needs, but it's just not something we have done. It creates administrative problems for us and the town. So,
60-day reserve and 3 more months of building department. I'm not looking at anything.
Mr. Graham, if you're willing to listen, we will make every effort to get you a decision prior to the 62 days. We can't make a promise because there are things beyond our control, just like the months we had no hearings were beyond our control. But we'll make every effort. We understand.
Thank you very much.
And just so the record's clear, the months we had no hearing, it wasn't because we were on strike. It was because of COVID-19.
That's exactly right.
And it would have been illegal, and we generally don't break the law. Okay. Thank you. We will reserve decision. And
I'll make a motion to reserve, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nicolia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We will get on this ASAP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next application, number 452-20, Blue Sanctuary.
Oh, I wasn't
Holding
giving up so easily. I liked having the reins here.
Would you like, you can finish
No,
with a
no, no,
flourish.
it's all yours. All yours.
Number 452-20, Blue Sanctuary Holding LLC, permission to elevate dwelling, leaving finished first floor elevation of 11 feet instead of permitted 8 feet, Residence AA District, south side of True Harbor Way, number 38, 785.14 feet south of Oak Neck Lane, West Islip, New York. Is there anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Glenn Graham with Graham Associates.
All right, Mr. Graham, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. This application is in a FEMA zone AE5. It's going to be a new house. The town code allows us 5 + 4 feet, which would bring us up to 9 feet to allow the finished floor of 9. We're seeking to go 2 feet higher than that. So the finished floor of this house would be at 11 feet. If you'd like, I will share the screen again. I have some photographs of the neighbors' homes, and I also have a survey with an elevation of the neighbor's home at 12.4. Going to share the screen.
So you're saying you're still more than a foot shorter than your neighbor, right?
Yeah, not only that, we'll also be under the overall height limit allowed by code. So the house will still be well under the roof peak will be under the height limit. Let's see if I can pull up those other photos for you. One sec. So here's the flood map. This subject property is in red. You'll see the AE5 zone takes up about half the property. It goes through the house. And here is some images. Actually, I'll pull up the neighbors survey. That's the subject survey. Here's our north neighbor, Mr. Chipoletti. I believe he wrote a letter in support. He did have some concerns about the condition of the property. Currently, it's heavily, tons of weeds. It's mosquito filled, and that will be taken care of as soon as all of our permits are granted. We can clear the property. But you'll see Mr. Chipoletti's elevation is 12.4. We're going to be at 11. And the last two items I'll show you are just some photographs of where the driveway comes into the property. And this is Mr. Chipoletti's house in the back. You see it, their property has been filled with retaining walls. So we're not planning any retaining walls. There'll be a gentle slope up to the property. There will also be no storage under the house. It's going to have a traditional foundation. It's not like we're elevating the house super high. So
All
we're
right, thank
seeking
you
an
very
extra
much.
2 feet here.
Gotcha. Ms. Ryan, anything, would you wish to be heard on this application?
There is no precedent, but like he mentioned, like Mr. Graham mentioned, that it is in a flood zone. I did miss, why is it at 11 and not 9 again?
We're just seeking an extra 2 feet to make sure the house does not get flooded in the future.
Okay. Having looked at this site a little bit more when I was working with a bulkhead application, it is all marshland. And right now it's it seems like it would be very prone to flooding. So I think as long as, my only concern is that the neighbors to the north, not Cipoletti like mentioned, but the other two, this is previous marshland. Sorry, I'm going a little bit everywhere. No objections, actually.
All right.
Okay.
Very
All
well.
right.
Any questions from the board?
Sorry.
It's no worries.
No.
All right. No questions from the board. Does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on this application?
Mr. Chipoletti is here with us,
Wonderful. Is there
And
anyone else?
has expressed a concern in the chat, Glenn, that possibly the photograph that you showed was the other neighbor's house.
Correct.
I guess that would be the neighbor, Mr.
Is
Chipoletti.
Mr. Chipoletti going to speak?
Yeah, I have 2 photos.
I don't have anything to speak. I expressed my concerns already via the mail, and I had spoken to the
There you
owner of the property already. I think that he's going to address all my concerns, and I'm not objecting to the application.
Okay, thank you very much,
Make
sir.
sure it was factual. So the retaining wall that you see in that picture is not Mr. Cipoletti's wall. That's the Coleman's wall. I do not have a wall over there.
All right, thank you so much, sir. That's wonderful. I think I saw somebody else as well, Mr. Perla.
Hi, how are you?
You wish to be heard on this application?
Nope. My outsider, Glenn Graham, was just
Okay,
related.
hold on. First, we need your name and address for the record.
Sure. Robert Perla, 38 True Harbor Way, West Islip, New York, 11795, owner of Blue Sanctuary Holding LLC.
I got it. Okay, so you're the applicant. So you're deferring to Mr. Graham to speak for you, right? A very wise decision, sir. All right. Nobody else wishes to be heard? Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chipoletti just wants to know if there's going to be bulkheading.
There's no bulkheading planned. We have DEC approval for a dock. And I'll be happy to share those plans with Mr. Chipoletti.
All right. Anyone else? There being no one else, Mr. Wexler, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we grant the application.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Second.
All in favor? All right, opposed? None? All right, congratulations. Application granted. Thank you, everyone, very much. Ms.
Thank you.
Pissarro, is there any other business to come before the board this evening?
I have no accessory apartment renewals and no cases to discuss from the reserve list.
All right.
Will, are you done? Well, I think we can end.
All right, that's fine. And what we'll do is all right, we'll discuss other things at a different time. All right, so then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for all your efforts.